Today is Renegade Millionaire stuff. Tomorrow is Renegade Millionaire marketing stuff, although, of course, everything overlaps to some extent. So the last time I did this live, any training of this live was in 2004. So obviously much water has gone under the bridge since 2004, including lots of time with lots of clients who I coach monthly or work with several times a year. And lots of time with y'all, correspondence back and forth, seeing you at events, hearing you tell me your various and sundry tales of woe, both business and personal. And what's always interesting to me about it all is the number of people. This is a cartoon of recent political bearing, but it's a little bear going into a restroom who says, I self-identify as a bear. I noticed it, where was I? Target yesterday. The signage on the restroom door now rivals that of a legal document. I mean, it's like, if you're this, or if you're that, or if you're this. If you self-identify as a transgender midget with emotional issues, use the blue door and don't stay in here any longer than 15 minutes. If you're a parent, you can bring the baby girl in a men's deal and you can change the diaper. It's very confusing. I try not to use public restrooms now because it takes me an hour to figure out what's supposed to be in it. So most people, if given the opportunity to do so, self-identify as a renegade. Certainly most of you do. Most everybody I work with does. If you had badges to choose from, you know, traditionalist, conventional person, established, everybody picked the renegade one. And my question to people all the time is, so what about that didn't you get? Didn't you really understand? Because here's this thing you're complaining to me about, which the reason you're complaining about it is you're still behaving like a normal person toward this thing you're complaining about. So you got the T-shirt, you know, with the Renegade logo on it, and you're marching around declaring yourself a renegade, and you're not behaving like it here, 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 and here, but you are here, right? And that doesn't cut it. I was just telling somebody, so Disney, I don't know if you saw the news. So they made a big deal about it in the news last week. For the first time since the 9/11 problem, attendance at all the parks is off by about 10%. And the news, because they don't know anything, they reported this as if it was a tragedy. You know, the business news reported this as, oh my God, what does this mean? You know, is Disney lost its way? Is the entire economy going to crash? This is like horrible. If you follow Disney and you talk to people at Disney, this is what they've been trying to make happen for 2 years, systematically. Right? And the last time we were just there with Cardell's from England, and our guide verified what I already knew. First of all, there's slippage, noticeable, really for the first time in my lifetime. They're having problems. Now, they're not Marriott problems, but they got problems. And he said, look, he said, we figured out 2 years ago, we got too damn many customers. Everywhere. There's too many people in the park at one time. There's too many people at the resort in one time. There's too many people everywhere. And couple that with the fact that means we need more employees, and it's harder and harder to get people who will do things the Disney way. And you put those two things together, and we're like stretched, right? We're having problems. So there was a conscious decision made 2 years ago to reduce the number of damn people showing up at our business. And now if you stop to think just about that, and you don't go any farther, there's somebody who deserves the T-shirt. Because who the hell would think that way, right? You're having meetings about how do we discourage a bunch of folks from coming here. That's what we got to do, right? And so Iger's attempt for a full year was just to keep raising prices. That'll make them go away. That'll stop somebody. And so it finally has. He's finally pressed it to the point that they're down 10% over the last 12 months. Now, what the news didn't report, which if you're a shareholder and you read the annual report, it's there, is park revenues are up 22% over the last 12 months. So they have reduced the body count and they have raised the revenues, which is exactly what they set out to do. But that alone is such a strange, whatever term you want to use, and we're using the term renegade. This is a renegade approach to running a business, and they get kudos for it. So I'm constantly asking questions, what part of this renegade thing didn't you get? You either are all in or you're not. This is not half pregnant territory. So as we go along now, today, understand that's my frame. And some of what I'm going to say, I know makes people uncomfortable. And that's probably the stuff that it will be most beneficial to you to pay attention to. The reason why this is so important is math I have shown you before, but I can never beat it up enough because it is what tells you you must be all in. This, on your page 2, this is the basic money pyramid. The money pyramid has not changed one iota, at least since the year I was born in 1954, which is when, coincidentally, the Social Security Administration started to track where people wound up after 40 years of work. And it hasn't changed. Most recent data is from 2014. The pyramid's exactly the same as it was in 1955. 1% of the people are rich. You can see the rest of it. By and large, 20% of the people can manage to finish out their lives without making a choice between their Alzheimer's drugs and their dog food. When you drop down below the 20%, that starts to change radically. So, and there's only 5% who really are living well by their own means, by any sensible definition of living well. Like they have a car that runs, they have a place to live, they can go visit the grandkids without hitchhiking, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? It's only 5% of the people. 95% of the people, therefore, are totally, absolutely, 100% wrong about their entire approach to life. Certainly about money. But it's hard to argue that you wind up at age 65 dead broke, that you did much of anything right. Now, you may have been a good person. I'm not having a morality conversation. I'm having a functionality conversation. Were you functional? Keith Lee was describing his whole management thing for a multi-office dental practice yesterday to somebody, and I walked up. And, you know, so we do the reviews on these people, and then they do the reviews on these people, and they do the reviews on these people, and they do the reviews on these people. I said, this is a dysfunction pyramid scheme. That's what he's built, right? Is everybody's dysfunctional, and it's pyramidal shaped. Well, that's exactly, see, so when you go in any population, anything you carve out, Cleveland, it's the same as the national population. If you go to millionaires, it's the same. 1% of them really got their act together. Another 4% are kicking ass and taking names, and then it starts to disintegrate dramatically. I promise you this is true. I got multi-billionaire clients who, it's a miracle. It's a testament to the magnificence of the American economy that this person has $1 million. Because behaviorally, they can't find their way, from my house to the hotel with a GPS. Honest to God. They're there for a consulting day, and I turn them loose. You guys can find your way back, can't you? Sure, no problem. How long did it take you? An hour and 10 minutes. It's like a 5-minute drive. What happened? This place is very confusing. I said, it's all lefts. Okay? Here's the directions. All left turns. Boom, you'll wind up there. What part of that didn't you get? Well, the GPS said, fuck the GPS. All right? But so this is everywhere. If you take all the dentists, if you take all the dentists in North Dakota, if you take all the dentists who do Invisalign, if you take all the lawyers, if you take all the PI lawyers, if you take all the PI lawyers who are Catholics, I don't care how you create a population, you will then go in it, and if you have access to their financial data and their functionality, are they able to hold a business together? Are they able to hold a marriage together? Are they able to hold a family together? Are they not on drugs? Are they not? Their functionality, here's what you're going to find. You're going to find this same damn pyramid. And from a money standpoint, think about everything that's changed since 1954 that should have affected this. Just think of access to information. If you don't know how to change a light bulb, there's a YouTube video on your phone to teach you how to change a light bulb. And there's one to teach you how to do pretty much anything else. You don't have to go get a book. You don't even have to be able to read. The damn thing will tell you a tablespoon of this, a teaspoon of that. It will tell you. You don't have to go to the library, ever, if you don't want to. It's in the phone that you people all love. All this is accessible. Any idiot can make shit and sell it on eBay. All of the excuses to be broke are gone. I've never yet met a broke person who doesn't know how to make something. They can knit, they can paint, they can cobble shit together with wood and nails. They all know how to make something. Every broke person I've ever met. They know how to make shit that somebody will buy. But before, they had to figure that shit out, right? Oh, where am I going to go sell it? How am I going to get a store to sell it for me? I can't get to the swap meet because I don't have a car. There's a lot of barriers now to knitting a sweater and selling it. Well, all those barriers are gone. You don't have to leave your house except to ship it. And you don't even have to do that. They'll come get it at the house. You don't even have to leave. And yet, the stats are the same. Now, this has to tell you two things. No matter what you're doing, no matter what group you're in, look around at most of them and beware. Because the statistics say they're fucked up. It's the first thing you got to get. It's hard for people to get. They recognize it over here, but they don't recognize it over here. Every time I'm with any group, I'm thinking, 95% of these people are fucking clueless, right? I got to find the 5%. Then I'd like to find the 1%. But Renegade Millionaire 101 says, if I can't find the 5, if I can't figure out who the 5% are, and if I can't find the 1%, I can at least not do anything I see these idiots doing. No matter how rational it may appear, I know it isn't because of these statistics. So if you go to the movie theater, where does everybody want to sit? Top middle, right? Some want to sit close to the bottom. Where do we want to sit? By a fucking exit. That's where we want to sit. Because if some numbnut comes in there and bullets start flying, I would like as few of you idiots between me and an exit as is possible. I'm going to throw you to the ground and run over you, But I'll feel better about myself if I only have to do that to 3 of you. Right? And if I live, how I feel about myself matters. So I am now thinking exit. Right? Most people have not made this adjustment. Why? It's right there. If you look up from the crawl about Black China and Rob Kardashian, boom, there it is. Exit. You go to an outdoor public event. Where do you want to be? Close to cover. Where am I going to go? That's question number 1. Hardly anybody's adapted their behavior, right? Where do they all want to sit at their ball game? As close to the field as is humanly possible. How are you getting out? What are you doing about that if shit goes bad? So this is an all-in deal. These stats are universal. They apply everywhere, to every group you belong to, every population you're a part of, every place you go, everything you do. You have to not behave like the 95 percenters. You just can't afford it. I was talking to Nito Cobain a couple days ago at High Point University. And our joke about Nito at the National Speakers Association conventions always used to be, before he was like famous, but he was getting known, people would come up to you and say, where can I find Cobain? Can you point Cobain out to me? It's really easy. He's the guy in the pool wearing a 3-piece suit, a tie, cufflinks, dress shoes. He's your guy. Okay? You'll have no trouble finding him. Today now, 25 years later, I said to him, they'll have no trouble finding you because you'll be the only guy there in a suit and cufflinks and a 3-piece suit. Everybody else will be at the convention trying to hustle, trying to do business, trying to find somebody who'll book them, and they're going to be wearing cargo pants and smelly socks and a FU t-shirt. I was kidding Darren Garman this morning. Where's Darren? He's a perfect example. Stand up. Okay? He's a dignitary I didn't recognize. I will later though, and I'll say something good about you. So Darren, any one of you could be a investor for him in his commercial properties. And stand up again. Get a good look at him. Okay? Okay? This is what happens if Clark Kent goes broke. Okay? This is the homeless Clark Kent. Okay? He's still got the glasses, right? He doesn't shave. He can't get the suit dry cleaned anymore, so he's just settled for a t-shirt with the logo on it and a pair of shorts, and there are no phone booths anymore. So he's living and changing clothes in a cubicle at the men's room at the convenience store. This is how we've come, right? Well, if you look at most people at most places, what do they look like? That or worse, right? So if you didn't know any better, right, you would say to yourself, oh, that ain't going to cut it, right? I don't know, I'll go you may not know what to do, so you might come wandering down here in a dress and not be self-identifying in an appropriate way. But with experimentation, you would start with, all these people look like they're camping. I won't do that. This is the thing, okay? This is the thing. It's either all in or it isn't. Right? We have young guys, a couple of young guys who are starting their career as harness racing drivers. And, of course, the majority of the drivers they can't wait to get the night done to go gamble, booze, whore around, you know. They never have any money. It's a big top guys probably racing in Northville make $300,000 a year. They're always broke. So to the one young guy, I said, let me explain something to you. These are not the people you want to emulate, other than their skill in the sulky. These are not the people you want to emulate. There's two people in this whole room, of all of us, who have any money, right? Besides me. There's two of them. Those are who you want to emulate. And one of the things you'll notice is, at the end of the night, they put their shit in the truck and they go home. That's one thing you'll notice. Okay? And both of them go home to a wife they've had for a while. You might want to notice that, because they're the only two that got any money. This is not a coincidence. This is behavioral, right? These are not the guys you want to emulate. Right? And this is what we got to get. Okay, so principle number 2 is, principle number 1. Sorry about that. Is every sword has two edges, every coin has two sides. So the relentless search for something that is all good is a futile search. Tain't no such thing. And probably never will be any such thing. Everything has its double-edged sword. So Disney's massive success, look at what now the other side of the coin is finally catching up to them. Oh shit, we've made ourselves so successful, we can't deliver on what made us successful. And now, as we're trying to get back to the point we can, no matter what we do, they won't stop coming. What the hell are we going to do about this? Everything is this way. Everything. Small, medium, large. So you can take anything you want to. You can flip over to marketing tomorrow and you can think about joint ventures. If you can find a JV partner at any time in your life who is all good, I'd like to hear the story. I had a client for a number of years, wouldn't do joint ventures because that person's really screwed up one way or another. You know, they're a giant pain in the ass. Yeah, they are. They're stupid. Yeah, they are. We're actually teaching them a bunch of stuff for free because they are so stupid, just in order to do the JV with them. Yeah, we are. But they got customers we could use, and we don't have them. And they're all that way. At least one of those three things is going to be true about anybody you're ever going to do a JV with. They're going to be a giant pain in the ass. They're going to be stupid. You're going to wind up teaching them shit for free because you're smarter than they are. They're going to be two of the three. They're going to be all three of the three. So, do you want those customers or not? Everything has risk. So, the search for the thing that has no downside risk, good luck. If you find one, I'd like to know about it. Tain't no such thing. Tain't no such relationship. Tain't no such opportunity. Now, there's ways to structure deals that manage risk. We're going to do a little deal session at the end of the day today. But, so Disney bought the Avatar brand. When was the Avatar movie out in the movie houses? Who knows? 10, right? 6, 7 years ago. They just opened the park now. Big risk in that purchase. Is anybody going to care by the time we turn this into anything? All right? Is global warming going to solve itself? And nobody's going to care about green. There's risk in that. There's nothing anybody does that doesn't have a risk element. So if you go around looking for the perfect or near perfect scenario in which to operate, you are severely restricted. So people like about employees. So people will say, I got to find better ones. For the most part, you won't. Certainly for rank and file jobs. 90% of them are severely flawed, and they are going to be severely flawed, and the only supply of them is severely flawed. Right? So this idea that we're going to give them 46 tests and we're going to get only the good ones, lots of luck. In 1968, a consulting firm, early in the performance testing business, went to DeVos and Van Andel at Amway. And they said, your process sucks and we can fix it. You guys are letting anybody recruit anybody. And hardly any of them do anything. Most of them are actually incapable of doing anything. They're so dysfunctional. We can test them. And we can fix your whole thing so you guys only recruit people who are able to be successful at this. And the way they do the base for the testing is, of course, they test all the top performers, right? This nonsense is still going on. It's just now more sophisticated, but it's the same stupidity. So they create the base by testing all the top performers. Then they build the avatar composite, and now they test you to see how you match up with the top performer, right? So they spent 6 months going to all the top performers. At the time, that would have been, in their language, crown, double crown, triple crown, and triple diamond distributors. It's all of them. And they ran them through this battery of tests to create this profile by which they are only going to recruit winners. And after 6 months or 8 months, I forget what it was, and millions of dollars, which they spent, DeVos and Van Andel didn't, they come back to DeVos and Van Andel and say, we have the profile. They're breathing. Most of them are walking. That's it. There is no other significant commonality between the top performers. It's a mystery to us. We don't friggin' know. Off we went. End of that. Right? I had a client years ago, a real successful real estate company here, and they decided to test all before they took an agent. So they had this big, sophisticated test. So I'm doing all the marketing. I said, hey, it'd be cool if I took the test. And it'd be cool if you took the test, because you started as an agent, and you now own this thing. And your brother, let's give him the test, because you got him doing all the sales training. None of us, we all flunked. None of us could get hired. I said, are you sure you want to use this? No. You want to build a system that for rank and file people, the system gets results from dysfunctional people. If you don't have that system, you're screwed, right? So this idea, people are always looking for the ideal scenario, the ideal situation, the ideal way to do things. That's not how anybody really gets anything done, and we ought to abandon it. Principle number 2 is an interesting one. I use the Napoleon Hill line. And this is really all about consistency. So most of most people's effort is, their marketing stuff is what I call random and erratic acts of marketing. Their lives really are random and erratic acts, largely reactive, not much predictive. Even when something is clearly predictive, procrastination about the arriving debacle makes it arrive as if you never could have predicted it in the first place. Right? So we all know, for example, all of us, if you got 1, what's going to happen at some point? Whatever it is, it's going to turn to shit. one way or another. Whatever it is, one account, one client, one employee, one source of business, one source of traffic, one source of whatever. If it's got the number 1 in it, what's going to happen? You can predict with 100% accuracy in advance that it's going to turn to shit. 99% of the people never prepare for it. They wait till it turns to shit. So even when we know our efforts are reactive, usually at a crisis level. People buy burglar alarms after their house has been burgled. They buy fire alarms after they've had a fire. They, on and on and on. By the way, I got to mention, how many of you have seen, this is how stupid people are. Fascinates me. How many of you know about the Ring doorbell thing that allows you to pretend to be home from anywhere in the world with your phone? Okay, raise your hands nice and proud if you bought one. Anybody? Good for you, dummies. I got news for the two of you. Professional burglars watch TV too. You're not being burgled by the Amish. The Ring doorbell has a distinctive look, doesn't it? I know it's a Ring doorbell. If I'm a burglar, I'm looking for them because I ain't going to ring them. I'm going to bang on the door with earthquake intensity. If nobody comes to the door with 100% certainty, there's nobody home. I know you're at the gym with your little phone waiting for some stupid burglar to ring the doorbell so you can pretend to be home. With a regular doorbell, I can't be sure. You might not have heard it. You might have been out on your back deck, but this thing, I know. If I bang on that door like hell and you don't come to the door, you smart person, have got your phone with you, activated at all times, waiting to pretend to be home. Good for you. I will clean your house out. Right? But everybody, so you're not alone. They're selling a shitload of these. And by the way, nobody, every time I mention it to somebody, they go, same look you just had on your face. Same look. Never thought of that. First thing I thought of when I saw it. So anyway, so people are really disorganized in everything they do. Right? See what that is, if you stop and think about that now. That, your purchase of that is a random and erratic act reactive to advertising. Okay? Well, you didn't call in somebody really smart about home security and design and have a system designed for you by an expert who analyzed your house and your valuables and what you wanted to accomplish and built you a system. You saw advertising and you thought, how else did you buy it?
How I bought it as a limited compliance reaction to an employee who had a...
Fine. Same.
It's in a business.
Yeah, but look, it's part of, but again, it was a random act and it was reactive. Okay? You had to be stimulated to do it. And in this case, yeah, by a malfunctioning employee and a legal issue. Okay? So you can defend that that's not as bad as what I just described. And it's not. But it's still, by the way, we're all guilty. I mean, I'm not, this is, if we're not really conscious of this and we're not careful, this is how we do most of everything we do. It's not part of an organized, methodical, systemized effort to get from A to B, right? It's, oh shit, this happened, right? And now I got to do something about it. And often we do a piece of something. We don't now do a complete thing. We do a piece of something. So sort of the converse of this on your page 5 is the way business should work at least is you start with a governing principle. What is the principled idea that we want to govern everything now layered underneath it? Then you translate principle into strategy, and then you figure out the tactics to apply the strategy. Preferably, for starters, all at one time. Not that we don't change and add. As new technology is available, we add it. If somebody finds a way to screw something up, we add another corrective measure. I started in speaking, my contract was a paragraph. It's now 4 pages. Everything that's been added is because somebody found a new way to screw me. Boom, we need another paragraph, okay? I didn't anticipate it, okay? My work with hotels used to be a lot different than it is now, 40 years, okay? We got to have this, we got to have that, we got to have this, we got to have that. The principle is we want a flawless meeting. Now, what are the strategies we need for that? What are the tactics we need for that? Okay? Now, see, most people start with tactics. Most people are very, very tactical, right? Kid won't clean his room. What are we going to do to get kid to clean his room? No, stop, think. Go all the way back to principle. What is the principle here about how we want the household to work? What's the principle about how we want the relationship with the kid to work? Now, what are the strategies? Now, what are the tactics? Everybody's very tactical. I have a client right now, and they have kind of kid in crisis. Okay? And I said, so what are you doing? Well, we went to this therapist, and we're doing this, and we're doing it. I said, and how did you? Well, we ran to the therapist, and then the therapist told us to do this, and then over there they told us to do this. I said, so you're behaving tactically, right? That's what you're doing. Right? I said, tell me the principle about how you want the relationship with the kid to work in the first place. Do you have one? Well, never really. And tell me the 5 strategies you have in place to have that outcome. Well, we never really, of course not, right? And who could see this coming? Gee, I don't know. He's a teenager, 50% shot. Some bad shit's going to happen. How many of you in here behaved some way really badly as a teenager? Raise your hands nice and proud. All right? Good. How many of you did it and never got caught? Okay, good. You learn more anytime I do this looking around, by the way, than you do looking at me. Okay, I can raise my hands for both of it, but all the hands went up. At a time, by the way, when your misbehavior probably had much less consequences than misbehavior does now, right? So we got a 50% shot the kid's going to be in crisis at some point just because he's a teenager. Now think of all the influences. That raises the odds. Now you got a broken home. I mean, it's together, but the 2 spouses are barely talking with each other, and they're living at different ends of the house, and they're throwing shit at each other. And I said, so add that, you're at like 90% chance here, right? So you actually could have prepared for this, but no preparation. We waited until it happened, and then we're engaged in random and erratic tactical behavior. Right? And we wonder why it ain't working. Right? So when you analyze businesses and the way business people behave, you will see that the renegade ones, the 1%, the top performers, they have this little list. They have governing principles for almost everything. Right? So if you think about Disney, so Disney's governing principle is what? Anybody know? The governing principle above all else. Happiest place on earth. That's exactly right. It's not just a slogan. That's a statement of their governing principle. Now that causes all sorts of strategic choices of what we're going to do here. We got to have strategies to have people leave feeling like they were at the happiest place on earth. Now, there's some shit we can't change, right? They're going to stand in long lines in sweltering heat with unhappy children. But we can make the line entertaining. We can have 3 different ways to buy your way to privilege to shorten the line. We can have people run around on the worst days with spray bottles with propellers on them and spray water on you and play with you and make like it's a game. We can do a lot of shit to try and now tactically and strategically get to this governing principle. Right? And they're a winning company. And the guys at Universal can't figure out why they don't have Disney success. And the guys at SeaWorld can't figure out why they don't have Disney success. And I assure you it's because they are not operating in this way. What's the principle? Now what are the strategies? Then finally, what are the tactics? So this is a way of thinking you don't very often see, right? So if you think, a couple of little examples. We spare no expense. This has a dot on it. Don't go looking for it. But so if our strategy is no fail follow-up, we shall leave no lead behind. Now that may or may not be the right strategy, by the way, but if it is, then we have to get semi-strategies and then tactical about what we're going to do about that strategy. No fail follow-up, right? So I always said when we had they had to be making $500,000 a year to be in the group, all the financial advisors in this mastermind group, and at the very first meeting I say, what do you do about all the old people who come to your dinners, your dog and pony show, who don't book appointments? These are people making $500,000 a year. They're intelligent. They're not stupid. They understand the value of a lead, and here's their answers. The real honest ones said, we don't do shit. Okay? The other one said, well, if Helen has time, we have her call them. Helen ever have time? No, of course not, because Helen don't want to call them. Okay? Helen will create fires to put out rather than make these calls. She ain't going to call anybody. We dump them back in the email and mailing list. And what do they get? 3 months later, they get an invitation to the same thing they were just at where they didn't book an appointment. Stupid is that? Right? I said, what do you guys? Well, that's what we do. Well, so, and it's what you all do, right? Yeah. Okay, well, you're all making $500,000 a year, but only 5% of you got your act together. So the fact that you all do this, we now know those are the 3 things not to do. We can throw those out, and we can start to have this conversation. All right? And so there's all sorts of stuff here. This is for a client, actually. But so appointment no sale sequence, same offer, price drop offer behind that, different offer behind that, flipped telereps. So if Barbara talked to them and couldn't close them, we have Susan talk to them. If Susan talked to them, we have Barbara talk to them. Special events they can come to, exchange and sell the unconverted leads. So we actually cut our lead cost in half, or or down to a third, or down to a fourth. Completely different offer, complete sequence. All of our lead management, are we doing print, are we doing digital, are we doing audio, are we doing video, what's the media look like? Do we have Infusionsoft or something like it, or are we doing this with, pink slips and file folders, all of that. This is now granular tactical. So my principle is no amount of money makes a night in a small gray room with a roommate named Brutus worthwhile. All right? I never want to spend one night. That's my principle. So I don't care how much money there is, I'm staying out of jail. That's my principle. I don't even really want to be in a room having a conversation that might put me in jail. But I damn sure don't want to go. Now that drives a lot of strategy for me. For example, entire categories that I won't work in at all because the risk of at least having to have that conversation is too high. It also says even within certain categories, there's certain people I do not work with, even though I know them, like them, and they would give me money. And I have no real objection to them personally, except they're a magnet for legal problems and regulatory problems, and they're in a high-risk category to boot. So the odds are, at some point, if I hang around with them long enough, I'm going to be sitting in a room across the desk from somebody wearing a gray pinstripe suit and a tie who went to law school, and we're going to be having a conversation about how I don't go to jail. So that's no good for me, right? This is, and you have it on page 6. So this is the indemnity clause from my copywriting contract. And this is called platform of defensibility. It ain't perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. You could hire Harvard. This wouldn't be perfect. But it is part and parcel of, if I do have to sit there, me getting to say, look, I warned the guy. There's 6 degrees of separation between me and him about what he has gone and done with what I wrote. You're having a conversation with the wrong guy. So principle to strategy to tactic, right? Very few people think in that organized of a way. I'll give you another key principle. It might not necessarily be yours, but it's on page 8. It was said best, I think, by this guy. I have this up in like 15 places in my office to try and reduce my temptation to screw up. And the principle is remain independent of any source of income that will deprive you of your personal liberties. Going to jail would do that. Having somebody who insisted on speaking to you at 2 o'clock in the morning when they had a brain fart would do that. Having a client who won't behave would do that. Long-term contract you can't get out of would do that, etc., etc., etc. So this is a governing principle for me. And now I try and be strategic about it, and then I am tactical about it. Principle number 3. Make maximum money. Shockingly, most business people are not focused on this, as you might think that they are. First of all, there's a whole be your own boss crowd. That's not why they're not in business to make maximum money. It's the furthest thing from their mind. And if you sell to business people, you must understand this. There's an overwhelming majority of them who are in business for other reasons. Something to do. They like animals, so they became a veterinarian. They're actually a little pissed off that they have to worry about business at all. This is the be your own boss crowd. They just want to do what their job was and not have a boss. The car mechanic opens a shop. He didn't open a shop to make money. He opened a shop because he didn't want a boss. And if you try and keep him from crawling under the car and using the grease gun, pretty much all you do is piss him off. Okay? He's kind of useless to us at GKIC, for example, because all we do is irritate him for a brief period of time and then he goes away. Okay? But beyond them, there's a bunch of people who, for a whole variety of reasons, including psycho-emotional, that are not the subject of our time together, they are not getting up every morning focused on maximum money from what they do. That's not what they're doing. They, like generally want to make a lot of money. Mostly, if you ask them, one of the first few things they'll say is they want to make more money. They'll express it in different ways. Oh, I need more new patients. I need more new customers. That's usually the way, Or I'm getting killed on price because of Amazon and all my profit's going away. I wish I could make more profit. They'll say this, but they are not up every morning thinking about what's the most amount of money that I can make today, and am I going to count the day this way? And how am I going to react to things that are interfering with my ability to make maximum money? So again, Disney is such a great study. So Disney gives you pins, sells you pins, right? You guys all know, right? And there's pin trading, and you put them on lanyards, or you put them on your, right? And they're cheap. They're made in China, and the backs fall off, and the little tiny back disappears down the sewer, or the alligator eats it or something, and now you've got a pin with no back. What's Disney's reaction to this is this. Not fixing the problem with better pins, because that would reduce profitability. Their answer is pin backs. There's 12 in here. $9. And they're on racks every place there's pins. And a lot of people get it before it even happens to them. Buying pins. Oh shit, these are really cheap. The backs are going to fall off. I better get a bag of pins, backs. Because the kid's going to lose the backs by the time we get to the hotel tonight, and I'm going to need some new backs. This is how they solve the problem. They don't really solve the problem. They solve the problem in a way that makes them maximum money. This is how they think. How would most people think about that problem? Oh shit, we better fix the pins. First thing would come to everybody's mind, right? It would be very tactical and reactive. Oh crap, people are complaining. The pin isn't made well. Let's call up the manufacturer and scream at the manufacturer. Oh, let's bite the bullet and spend 20 cents more on every pin to get a better back on. This is what would go on, right? You guys, you all agree? This is what would go on, right? If it went on at all, I mean, the other thing that might go on is, oh, well, fuck it. We'll just let people be unhappy. Those would be the two answers, right? Not their answer. Oh, crap, we got a lot of people complaining about this. How can we make them give us some money for a solution to the thing they're all complaining about? And look at everything they do. See, that's a tactic they use again and again and again. It's why you have an express pass. It's their answer to people are pissed off because they got to stand in all these long lines. They'll pay to be in a shorter line. Not, can we fix the, no. They'll pay to be in a shorter line, right? They don't like standing in line to buy stuff. Great, let's put a thing on their wrist so they don't have to get even their key out of their pocket, and they can just go beep, and then they'll spend more. And then, oh, we got this thing, so then they made decoration pins to put on the thing which you buy. They don't give them to you with the thing. No. This is how they think about, they're like maximum money thinkers, right? That's what they are. Very few business people are maximum money thinkers. They stop way short of all the detail that could produce maximum money. So I gave you an example. If you look at page 11. So here's when I was speaking on a Peter Lowe tour. And of course, I got more and more diligent about it, the less I wanted to be there. but I was pretty diligent from the beginning. So this is the entire list of everything I did to maximize the money from that opportunity, which most of you know, but 9 years, big tour, 25, 27, 28 gigs a year. So the first grouping was basically about the deal, right? So we're all there on splits. Zig and I got 60% to us, 40% to the house. Everybody else gave 50 or 60 the other way. So I had a higher percentage coming to me in the first place. Okay. Now, by the way, the real egalitarian folks, Bernie, Sanders, who just bought his third house for $1.6 million in a gated community on an island. See, he would say that that's unfair and unjust, and even thinking about it is unfair and unjust. Every speaker should get the same deal, right? And I should feel bad about them getting less and me getting more. Not only don't I feel bad about it, I felt good about it, right? I outfoxed them schmucks. I got more money. Second, I was the only one to process my own orders because everybody's lazy. So every other speaker, the house ran all the money and sent them a check, except me. I took my order forms and I processed my own money and I sent them a check. Two good things about that. Number one, actually three. Number one, by accident or intent, nobody could steal any money from me. If anybody could steal money, it was me. Which, by the way, that's like a principle. If I'm going to be in a position and there's a choice between they could steal from me or I could steal from them, I want to be on the side where I could be the one stealing. Okay? I don't want to be on the side where I could be stolen from. Bad position. In this case, with seminar promoters, there's a certainty about seminar promoters. Lee knows it. I know it. Is there anybody else in here who speaks or has spoken a lot for independent promoters? Okay. In case you ever do, this is like the teenage kid. 100% certainty they're going to go broke. At some point in time, they're going to go broke. Guaranteed. Every one of them has. Every one of them will. It's an inevitable circumstance. Mostly they'll start over, and most of the same people will work for them again, but they will go broke. And so if they're processing the money, at some point, because they're slower and slower to pay, Joe Speaker is owed a lot of money, like for a month. So if you sell 200 grand a day and you do 10 in a month, and you're on a 50-50 split, they're into you for $1 million. And when they go upside down, you don't get it. And on that tour, twice, I'm the only guy who got all his money. Everybody else ate a month and went back to work for the new one anyway, because where else are they going to go? I'm the only guy who got paid. Every penny. Because I processed my own orders. Third, I sold at higher prices than anybody else. The house, by the way, is leaning on everybody to sell at lower prices because they want volume. So I sold at higher prices. Next batch of stuff. Without a lot of detail, I used bait and switch to bring more people to the tables. I'm the only guy to go work with the temps at the tables, at the product sales tables, every single time to every single table. Everybody else went to the green room and took off their shoes and sat on a couch and talked to the other speaker. I'm at the product sales with the temps. Gather around, boys and girls. Here's how this is going to work. All right. I'm the only one who managed the house's sales manager. I'm the only one who had an order form. I'm the only one who got people to come out from behind the tables and hand out order forms to people while they're standing in line so they can be filling them out. Nobody else could do that because they didn't even have order forms. I'm the only one who refused to switch to digital. So where everybody wound up in the last few years, not only don't they have an order form, they don't have any paper at all. Marge is going to the table, standing in line forever, swiping a card, and she's getting stuff. Guess what? Now nobody's even got records. Speaker A doesn't have the addresses, the emails. He's got nothing. He's got a check he may or may not get, and he's got a digital statement of what happened. Going, not this kid. Mm-hmm. Next batch of stuff. Manage the environment. Mm-hmm. Next batch of stuff. What happens afterward? So in the get paid category, now again, a principle of mine is get paid. I want to be paid. I don't want to go to lunch with anybody for free. I don't want to do anything. That's why I don't have a social life. Carla goes, do you want to go to dinner with these people? I said, are they paying? She said, well, we'll probably pick up the check. I said, I wasn't talking about the check. I'm going to have to go have conversation for 3 hours. I get paid for that. Okay? It's bad enough I have to talk to you for free. I don't want to go talk to these people for free, right? So my principle is get paid, right? So now they bought shit from 8 different people. Guess what? Whoever gets a credit card run first wins. All right? I got to get the stuff run. All right? I got to keep refunds from happening. So all that's in there. And then finally is how to capitalize on it outside of it. Now, if you ask anybody else doing this to show you their 22-item list of how they got maximum money from what they were doing, nobody could give you a 22-item list. I promise you. In that world, so if you went to Zig, if he was still alive, and Zig's people, if you went to Tommy Hopkins, if you went to Brian Tracy, if you went to Jim Rohn, if he was still alive, if you went to anybody else who was product salesperson at those events, and you said, here's $100,000, show me your list of 20 things you do to get maximum money out of doing this. You'd get to keep your money. They couldn't write it out for you because they wouldn't know it. Because why wouldn't they know it? Because they're not doing 20 things to get maximum money out of this. So principle for me, because I always hated to travel, if I have to get on an airplane, damn it, I want every dollar I can get out of that trip. What's all the shit we can do to get maximum money out of that trip? When I used to travel a lot, I mean, I'm meeting people for 35 minutes in between where I'm changing planes. Used to be able to, just people could wander through the airport. They didn't. So, I'm coming in at gate X, I'm leaving at gate Y, you be there, we'll meet for 20 minutes. And it's a money meeting one way or the other. You're paying or I plan on selling you something. Because, see, I can take a dump at home. I don't need to be doing it. I don't need to be doing it at the Dallas airport. All right? I can wait till I get to my hotel. Let's make some money. Most people do not think this way. The 1% crowd does. And by the way, they don't get copied. We'll take a break in just a minute or two. So think about Buffett. So Warren Buffett is endlessly fascinating, regardless of whether you invest $1 in anything. I don't care if you keep all your money in a mattress. Buffett is endlessly fascinating because of so many things he does that nobody else copies. that is remarkable to me. Find another company that has turned their annual meeting, which they must have by law and invite shareholders to, into a 5-day Tupperware party, in his case, Pampered Chef party, a 5-day sale-a-thon extravaganza for every company that Berkshire Hathaway owns a piece of, and all the shareholders buying shit. They're there buying everything there is to buy. Furniture, chocolates, you name it. It's a giant buying extravaganza. Find any other company. You won't. Here's how the normal annual shareholders meeting is done. They'd rather you didn't come. They don't have it anywhere near corporate headquarters. They have it at some, the Holiday Inn in Parsippany, New Jersey. Okay. They have it at from 9 to 11 on a weekday. They don't have it near an airport. I mean, they do everything they can to have no shareholders show up. That's what they do. And nobody has looked at this and said, here's how we all do this. Here's how Warren does this. So Amazon. How many Amazon merchants are there? Why don't we have an annual meeting and all the merchants are there and we sell shit and it's remarkable. Here it is. What? Disney. Why don't they have the shareholders meeting at the same time they have a D23 convention in Orlando so everybody can come and spend the week and spend money? No. We have the annual meeting in some godforsaken place at some inconvenient date at an inconvenient time. We hope nobody knows about it, and we hope nobody comes. One guy out of all the public companies, all the investment funds, all the hedge funds, one guy's doing it this way. Everybody else is doing it the other way. Now, if you never saw Warren, you would know not to do it this way if you were running a public company, because that's what everybody does. But then, if you could think further, how do we maximize money from everything we do? So law says we have to have a shareholders meeting. How many of you own stock in public companies and you get annual reports in the mail? Good. How many have ever gotten coupons with your annual reports to go buy shit from the company that you own stock in? One! They bitch about the cost of sending the annual report out. They lobby the SEC every year to get them to just do digital. They don't want to put it in the mail. They don't want to send it to you. When they have, think of this. This is a piece of direct mail that has a 100% open rate by somebody favorably disposed to the company they are opening the envelope of. God forbid we put a pitch in it. So if you own stock in an insurance company, you get the annual report. There is no sales letter in there telling you why you should buy some more insurance. None. Ever. Ever. I look at it and I go, it pains me. And I open a lot of them. I go, oh shit. I own stock in a company run by stupid people again. Right? How annoying. Ford. Do you think? So everybody's going to open their Ford annual report. 100% open rate. Do you think maybe we ought to sell a Ford car to everybody that opens the annual report? Isn't this like brain dead? Nope. How about if we sifted and sorted them by area so we could put something in from the dealers in that, drive right to retail, shareholder day. Everybody comes to the dealers on the Saturday after the annual report's mailed. And everybody gets free Cokes when they take a test drive, and there's a clown, and right in the annual report. No. We're going to, No disrespect, but no. We're going to go do Facebook. Fucking buttheads. So every time I open these, it's painful. I'm sitting on the couch going, oh shit, another stupid company. Oh shit, another stupid. Carla goes, why do you own stock in all these stupid companies? I said, because they're all stupid. I mean, they're unhelpable.